Soren Kierkegaard. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. The tyrant dies, and his rule is over. The martyr dies, and his rule begins. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. Take away paradox from the thinker, and you have a professor. A man who, as a physical being, is always turned toward the outside, thinking that his happiness lies outside him, finally turns inward and discovers that the source is within him. Personality is only ripe when a man has made the truth his own. Not just in commerce but in the world of ideas too, our age is putting on a veritable clearance sale. Everything can be had so dirt cheap that one begins to wonder whether, in the end, anyone will want to make a bid. Be that self which one truly is. There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. It seems essential, in relationships and all tasks, that we concentrate only on what is most significant and important. Trouble is the common denominator of living. It is the great equalizer. Life is not a problem to be solved but a reality to be experienced. Once you label me, you negate me. Don't forget to love yourself. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. The truth is a snare, you cannot have it without being caught. You cannot have the truth in such a way that you catch it, but only in such a way that it catches you. During the first period of a man's life, the greatest danger is not to take the risk. Marriage brings one into fatal connection with custom and tradition, and traditions and customs are like the wind and weather, altogether incalculable. Since boredom advances and boredom is the root of all evil, no wonder, then, that the world goes backwards, that evil spreads. This can be traced back to the very beginning of the world. The gods were bored, therefore, they created human beings. Old age realizes the dreams of youth. Look at Dean Swift. In his youth, he built an asylum for the insane. In his old age, he was himself an inmate. Faith is the highest passion in a human being. Many in every generation may not come that far, but none comes further. People commonly travel the world over to see rivers and mountains, new stars, garish birds, freak fish, grotesque breeds of humans. They fall into an animal stupor that gapes at existence, and they think they have seen something. The more a man can forget, the greater the number of metamorphoses which his life can undergo, the more he can remember, the more divine his life becomes. Since my earliest childhood, a barb of sorrow has lodged in my heart. As long as it stays, I am ironic. If it is pulled out, I shall die. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought, which they seldom use. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. What is a poet? An unhappy person who conceals profound anguish in his heart but whose lips are so formed that as sighs and cries pass over them, they sound like beautiful music. Patience is necessary, and one cannot reap immediately where one has sown. How absurd men are! They never use the liberties they have, they demand those they do not have. They have freedom of thought, they demand freedom of speech. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. Just as in earthly life, lovers long for the moment when they are able to breathe forth their love for each other, to let their souls blend in a soft whisper, so the mystic longs for the moment when in prayer he can, as it were, creep into God. At the bottom of enmity between strangers lies indifference. Listen to the cry of a woman in labor at the hour of giving birth, look at the dying man's struggle at his last extremity, and then tell me whether something that begins and ends thus could be intended for enjoyment. The paradox is really the pathos of intellectual life, and just as only great souls are exposed to passions, it is only the great thinker who is exposed to what I call paradoxes, which are nothing else than grandiose thoughts in embryo. I begin with the principle that all men are bores. Surely no one will prove himself so great a bore as to contradict me in this. Concepts, like individuals, have their histories and are just as incapable of withstanding the ravages of time as are individuals. But in and through all this, they retain a kind of homesickness for the scenes of their childhood. Because of its tremendous solemnity, death is the light in which great passions, both good and bad, become transparent, no longer limited by outward appearances. Far from idleness being the root of all evil, it is rather the only true good. One can advise comfortably from a safe port. Motivational quotes Soren Kierkegaard. If you find this video motivational, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. For more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and remember to hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening and watching. Please subscribe and comment.